Hello, everybody. This is Joe Freudenberger, CEO for OakBend Medical Center in Richmond, Texas, coming to you today on this day of healing to reflect on a year that for most of us was the most difficult year in the course of our lives, and hopefully will go down as our most difficult year for the rest of our lives. It was a tough year. Most all of us lost somebody very special over the course of this year. But all of us lost time with friends and family, whether it was weddings or births or celebrations or deaths or holidays. We all lost time with the people that we care to be around. So as we reflect on 2020, let's both remember those who we have lost, but also give thanks to those that we still have and recognize the amazing heroes that live within our midst. The healthcare workers and first responders who literally put their lives on the line to treat us when we knew so little about this disease. We didn't know whether we could become infected from our patients and then give it to our families and loved ones. We didn't know how to protect each other. We didn't know how to treat this disease. It was all brand new and unknown. But I have to tell you, what I saw in this community, what I saw across the healthcare landscape in its entirety, was an amazing coming together of people and governments and countries to tackle this thing in what, in hindsight, will be considered the fastest turnaround ever in the course of modern healthcare, going from completely unknown in December of 2019 to treatable with a vaccine in December of 2020. This is a time when we reflect back, but also I would encourage all of us to recognize that we have precious ones in our midst, loved ones that we want to make sure we spend the time with. We don't want to ever turn around and say, oh my gosh, they're gone, and we didn't spend the time we should have with them. So thank you very much. My deepest sympathy goes out to each and every one who has lost someone special.
looks beyond my faults and solve my needs.
Good evening. My name is Pastor Leroy Hodge Jr., and I want to offer you some words of hope and some words of encouragement. I know it's been tough the last year dealing with the pandemic and all of its residual effects. Many of you have lost loved ones. Many of you have experienced unimaginable things, and many of you have had your life turned upside down. Well, I want to give you some words of hope and some words of encouragement. There's a fitting scripture that I want to share with you tonight that I believe will help you move forward. I want to look at Psalm 23 and verse 3. And there's a portion of verse 3 that I want to highlight, and it's at the beginning of the verse. It says that He restores my soul. Dr. J. Oswald Sanders, in his book on spiritual leadership, says that the world is run by tired men. If all of us examine our lives closely, we can relate to that statement. At some point in our life, we have all experienced a season as we have tried to manage our lives. We have become tired, worn out, and run down. Oftentimes, there are seasons in our life that move so fast that we can't even catch our breath. And in the hustle and bustle of life, there are many times that we come to the end of our strength, our wit, and our will. What do you do when you encounter a season when you feel like you cannot go any farther? You have tried to do everything you can to recover, but you still find yourself run down, worn out, and fatigued. I submit to you that when you encounter a season where you feel like you can't go any further, that's the time that you have to trust the shepherd who can give you what you need to get going again. That's the truth that we discover in this psalm, which is actually a shepherd's psalm. This psalm has three constants in it. It has a shepherd, it has sheep, and it has different scenes. Perhaps you are in a scene where you don't know how to get going again. Perhaps you're hurting, you need healing, and you need help. No matter what scene you're in your life, those of us who have trusted the covenant-keeping God, Jesus Christ, for salvation, He can get us going again. There's not a scene in our life that we'll ever face that He can't lead and guide us through. And this psalm would have us to understand that we can recover. No matter what life has thrown at us, no matter how life has knocked us down, we can recover. And maybe tonight you're like a sheep that is exhausted, wearied, troubled, anxious, worn down with care and toil. And you're trying to muster up the strength to get up from the experience that life has thrown at you. Well, I submit to you that you have a shepherd who can get you going again. This word is the idea of something that is brought back, and it paints the picture of something that's missing or lost. Maybe this pandemic has killed your joy. Maybe you've lost your passion. Maybe you've lost your direction. This psalm teaches us that we have a shepherd who can give us direction, who can guide us, and who can get us back on track. This psalm, this word, restored, is the idea of a cast sheep. And what a cast sheep is, it's oftentimes sheep would walk, and as they are walking, they hit a soft spot, and it causes them to fall down, and they cannot get back up. And the longer the sheep stayed down, gases would build up in its stomach, and if it stayed down too long, it would asphyxiate. And it needed immediate intervention. And perhaps that's where you are tonight as you look at the pandemic and you deal with the residual effects and how you've been hurt and how life has thrown a fatal blow at you. Maybe you need help up. Well, if that's you tonight, you have a shepherd that can turn your life right side up, but you just have to trust him. This word is also a medical term, and it's the idea of something that is repaired, mended, or stitched. It's the idea of something that has been pulled apart or torn apart and that needs to be put back together. Maybe your life is torn apart because a loved one's died and they're missing. Maybe you've lost your passion. Maybe your joy has fizzled out. And maybe you need to be healed tonight because of all the hurt. Well, if that's you tonight, you have a shepherd that can heal you. I conclude with this story. This story is about a guy by the name of Wayman Tisdale, who was drafted in the NBA in 1985 as the number 2 pick from the University of Oklahoma. He had a lot of notoriety coming in to the NBA. He is a 3-time All-American, and I believe he played for like 8 or 9 seasons in the NBA. But what was interesting about his life is that after he retired, one night he was walking down the stairs because he heard a noise at the door. And while he was walking down the stairs, he heard a pop in his leg and he fell down. And he had an excruciating pain, a pain that he said he never felt before in his leg. And the more he tried to get up, he couldn't get up. And so he yelled out to his wife that he needed help. She came down the stairs. She tried to help him up, but she couldn't get him up. And so she had to end up calling the EMS. And once the EMS arrived, they picked him up, put him in the ambulance, and they transported him to the hospital. While they were running x-rays or doing x-rays on his leg, they found out that the area that was broken in his leg had a tumor. If he had not broken his leg and gotten to the hospital to get the help that he needed, they never would have discovered that he had a tumor. Oftentimes in life, God allows us to get to a place where we're hurt, where there's something in our lives that we can't fix, only to be in a position where he can heal us or help us. And maybe that's you tonight. You have some inner pain, some secret pain that no one can see as a result of the pandemic. Well, I submit to you tonight that in our shepherd we have a healer, one who has the balm to heal our hurting souls. And so tonight, all you have to do is trust him if you want restoration. And remember that in the midst of what you are going through, that God, the shepherd, can put it back together again. God bless you and keep you is my prayer.